Pathikada. Bandula Jayasekara Samaga.
Now you heard what the richest man in the world said. Jeff Bezos spoke of a Sri Lankan. I would say that he is a Sri Lankan American now. Sri Lanka is proud of him, and we got to know Yasantha Rajakarunanayake thanks to Jeff Bezos. So I tried my best and I managed to contact him, and it was my privilege today to introduce to our viewers Yasantha Rajakarunanayake. Good morning, Yasantha.
Good morning, Bandula.
I'm so happy that Twitter helped me to get in touch with you. Now, everybody is in Sri Lanka, they started talking about Yasantha Rajakarunanayake. Of course, I have heard the name Rajakarunanayake. I have worked with your uncle, Lucian Rajakarunanayake. Then, when we discussed on WhatsApp, you spoke about your father, who is also Hilary Rajakarunanayake, who's another respected journalist. Now, what did you feel when Jeff spoke about you? He tried, it was very difficult for him to pronounce your name.
Right. Actually, he had forgotten my name. Actually, he called me Yasantha, right? But at least he remembered this was from 34 years ago, from the time I was about 20 years old. So basically, it was amazing memory, that he remembered, and then he actually spoke of me by name. And that is amazing. That I didn't expect it. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew always. I went to school with him, but I wasn't sure that he would remember me after so many years. But it was a very nice, pleasant surprise that that not only he remembered, but he remembered that my name was long, that I was Sri Lankan, and that it made out of 3 parts. Rajakarunanayake. And that was very nice of him. And yeah.
Yasantha, how did you hear about it?
Initially I was getting. So I think Jeff spoke on. I think it's the 13th of September, probably a Thursday. But by Saturday, I was getting a lot of. I think junk mail and not junk mail. Messages on my LinkedIn. Asking, are you Jeff Bezos Yasantha? So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? So I'm like, I'm not Jeff Bezos. So it's like somebody asking a question. So people from the internet and people were just sending me spam. So I thought my account had got hacked. That was my first initial reaction. So I was very careful. Okay, I'm not going to open any of these messages, because that's the message that had the video embedded, right? So, but then later on Monday, after coming back from work, I looked at it and very carefully, I wasn't sure whether there's going to be a virus or not, but I clicked it. And then, to my surprise, he started talking about me. So then I immediately started, I used my Twitter. I have never used Twitter to send tweets out. Twitter is very useful for looking
news.
At news and keeping up to date, right? So it's like a news feed aggregator. So that's how I have been using. But then I made my first tweet and said, hey, Jeff is talking about me. I'm this guy.
I saw that.
That is amazing, because this social networking works, because it went to 4.5 million people. In the world. That is amazing. Because I sent it. I didn't have any followers or anything, so I just put Jeff Bezos to the I didn't even know how to use it properly. Initially, I didn't have my photo or anything on Twitter. Right? It was just a little icon. So then I had to quickly make a little profile for myself.
How did you feel?
It was very nice. So I ran upstairs to show it to my wife because the video clip had already been, attached, right? So then I showed my wife and my daughter were there upstairs, and then I showed it to them, and then, they, we were all very pleasantly surprised, Yeah, so that was a day of fame, 1 day of 24 hours of fame.
And
I guess. Yeah.
No, I think it's more. I think Sri Lanka got into whatever, it was doing the rounds in Sri Lanka. Of course, Yasantha, Rajakarunanayake, and the brightest student at Princeton.
Great. And I think it's I'm so glad to inspire people from Sri Lanka, especially the youth, because, I think the message is, if I can do it, you can do it too. Anyone can do it. I mean, I'm very middle class. I was raised in a middle class family, so, there's nothing too special. I worked hard and, studied hard when I was young. And so I'm successful now, but more than that, I think I'm so glad because I was able to. The reason Jeff Bezos remembers me is because the interaction with me was pivotal for his career, because he went from trying to become a theoretical physicist to become a businessman, or went into electrical engineering, and then he went to Wall Street, worked on a stock market company. And then later, in 1994, he started selling books. For me, I did the opposite, actually. I joined Princeton University to become an electrical engineer. Then I was very good in electrical engineering, but I was also a very good mathematician at that time.
I want to interrupt you, Yasantha, and Jeff says, Yasantha Rajakarunanayake was the brightest student at Princeton.
Oh, I think he's exaggerating. I'm sure you can't tell who is the brightest student in a university, but a lot of the people are bright, right? I mean, so that's very nice of him to say that. It's a good compliment. Now I don't need any references from anymore. I can just play that video, when I go for my next job interview. That's very nice.
Let's
also it's a character reference too.
Yeah. Now you want to do electrical engineering, then what happened? Then you were good in maths?
Yeah. So actually from Sri Lanka, I wanted to do electrical engineering and computer science because I think when I was young, I had asthma, kind of bad asthma. So, but I knew I didn't want to become a doctor. In Sri Lanka those days, there's only you can either become a doctor or engineer. Those are the only two main things that Sri Lankan education system offered. So I didn't want to go do medicine, so I did engineering. And then my father said, Puta, you have asthma, so you can't do civil or mechanic because there's dust. Okay, so this is 1978. So at that time, you said you better find a job in an air-conditioned room, so you can sit and do your job, and otherwise you die. If you try to go outside in the dust and try to measure, with the theodolite or whatever those things are, right? The civil engineers use. So quite by accident, we didn't know much, but the reason I chose computer was because it was healthy for my, so I could breathe air conditioned. I could sit in the air conditioned room. So then later on, what happened is in Princeton, it is the university that Albert Einstein was when he was working there, right? Of course, he passed away in 1955, but then it's a very famous physics university. They have like 20 or so Nobel Prize winners in physics in Princeton. It's much more prestigious, the physics program, than the electrical engineering program. Electrical engineering program, they have MIT and places like that for #1 electrical, right? So Princeton was a physics one. So the best students gravitate back to physics. So what I did is I did the electrical engineering, but then for my PhD, I learned a lot of physics and became an applied physicist and went to Caltech. But Jeff Bezos went the other way. He started with physics, and then after talking to me, he apparently started doing electrical engineering. And so, our careers sort of crossed paths.
So y'all were batchmates, basically. Y'all were batchmates?
Yeah, batchmates, and also he knew his dorm mates too, right? Not my roommate, but like down the few, maybe 10, 15 rooms away. Maybe his room was there with his roommate, right? but basically I met him in lectures most of the time, right? So yeah, that's the interaction.
So did you, now when he is the richest man in the world, you
Sure.
remembered this is my batchmate, this is my dorm mate?
Yeah, no, I always know about Jeff Bezos because because everybody in Princeton, when I talk to any of my friends, they say, hey, yeah, we all know. In fact, another person I went to school with is Michelle Obama, Barack Obama's wife.
Yes.
But she doesn't remember me. Okay.
So did you try to contact Michelle?
I should, I think, but I didn't yet. But because Princeton is a very interesting place where you get a lot of networking. Is very good, because all over the world, a lot of people come. So I just happened to be in the same batch as Jeff Bezos and Michelle Obama, and so I was very fortunate.
How come Michelle Obama didn't know about the brightest student in Princeton at the time?
She does know, but well, she's probably doing some arts or something, right? I was doing engineering, and so we probably, it's in the same university, but there are about 1,000 students, right? So it's difficult to remember everyone.
But maybe everybody is Googling you now.
I don't know now, but it's very, very pleasant. And there are other very interesting people. So I'm not trying to boast or anything, but there, two kings are there now. Actually, King of Morocco was also there in Princeton. Just to tell you, for the storytelling aspect. So he took all of his friends and took for the summer, and then he took his father's. His father is the king, so he took everybody to his house, to the palace for holiday, in the summer. And then also we had at that time the Princess of Holland. She's the queen now. And so they were very interesting characters.
During your time, is like your parallel, your batchmates?
Yeah, they're same age with me. They are in the same batch. They're studying. We meet them here and there. So it's So just like in Sri Lanka, you meet all the important people in the university, right?
Yasantha, let me take my viewers back. You are a boy from Ratmalana. You went to Royal College. You ended up in Princeton. Let's tell our viewers your journey after that, because they want to know about you, more about your journey.
You mean my journey to Princeton from Sri Lanka?
From Princeton to where you are now.
Okay. So first let me start with how I ended up going to Princeton. So we couldn't obviously afford to go to Princeton. At that, my father is an accountant, and my mother at that time, he was accountant, and my mother is a school teacher, vice principal of a school. So, very government type of salaries that we were getting. So, but nevertheless, I'm so fortunate that I did this test again by accident, because a friend of mine he didn't get through the A-level, so his father had a lot of money, so he wanted to send him to America. Then I was just hanging out with him, I was his buddy. Say, hey, what are you doing? Okay, well, he's doing some American tests. I said, okay, let me do that too. And then he encouraged me to do it, and then I applied, and then they liked my application, and then they gave me a scholarship. So because I did well in Sri Lanka, so I got 4 A's, and I got into the University of Morocco at that time. It was a Katubet campus. So, in fact, my mother said, don't go, hey, what are you doing? You can get a first class or something, and why don't you do it that way? You can go for your postgraduate. Don't go to, give up your Morocco university. But then my father said, no, you go. You have better scope, or, that's what he said. So I said, my dad taught me to take some risks in life. So I said, okay, fine. If I go and mess up, then I won't have University of Sri Lanka or America. But yeah, so luckily I did very well, and so from Princeton I went to Caltech, which is also it's called California Institute of Technology. It is like a place like MIT. It's very famous for Science and Technology, and they run the Jet Propulsion Lab for NASA. So, and also, it's a very, very, very highly prestigious school, and I was able to do really well there. In fact, I did much better at Caltech and than I was in Princeton, because we are from sunny places, right, in Sri Lanka. So for my brain to work, I need the sun. In Princeton, it was in New Jersey, so it was very cold. So in the cold weather, we get depressed. And so it was something very important for me to go to a place that had the sun. And so now I'm in California, and I became a professor first in physics, and then in 1995 or 94, when the internet started happening, then I thought, okay, I have to change my career from becoming a physics professor to this. At that time, I knew how I had a critical skill of being able to use cable communication. So I joined the first cable modem deployment with Intel and others in California. So we did high-speed internet. So because I thought that's the future, in 1993. And then later I found, cable is only in America. Other places you have to send the internet on the phone line. So then I changed yet again to a technology called DSL. If you know. So I was fortunate to do a startup there, and then I did after year 2000. I made some money, okay, because they had an IPO, one of those things that the small company became big, and it was successful. So then I wanted to start my own company, and
you have been in the US for 40 years now.
Oh yeah, about 38, I think. Yeah.
38, yeah.
38, yeah. Since 1982. So yeah, so 36 years. Yeah. So I think so. After that, I started a company, and that company didn't really do well. I tried, but it failed for various reasons. The product was too advanced to some extent, because I was trying to make a cloud based system, and then after that. In America, a big change happened after this 2001. After the 9/11, they call it, when this they bomb these buildings, with these planes, right? Terrorists. So after that, the economy became pretty bad. Okay, so then you couldn't do startups for some time. So I joined a company called Broadcom, which is a wonderful company. I stayed there 15 years, and I learned a lot, as well as contributed so much. So I did digital satellite, and as well as later I pioneered a lot of work in Wi-Fi. So if you have an iPhone, one of these things, then
iPhone, which I use. iPhone.
Yeah, but it has some of our chips that we designed. I designed on the Wi-Fi side, the hardware for it, and some of the fundamentals of it. And then after that, Wi-Fi also, after you do about 4 or 5 generations, then it becomes sort of boring. So I want to do some more research in another field. And so I started doing artificial intelligence, and I joined a company named MediaTek. So MediaTek is not an American company, it's a Taiwanese company, but it's like the 3rd biggest semiconductor manufacturer in the world. In fact, 1/3 of the cell phones are made by MediaTek. The inside, you call it the Intel inside, just like that. All the phones have MediaTek inside. I think also we have a big market share on TVs, as well as on routers too. Home routers that you have. So I'm very happy there. I'm the senior director.
And Yasantha, how often do you come to Sri Lanka?
So to Sri Lanka, I think both my parents have passed away, so not much anymore. Okay, maybe every 3 to 4 years. But when my mother and father were alive, then I used to come, or I used to get them down. So once a year, either they would come visit me, or I would go and visit Sri Lanka.
Wish they were alive to hear what Jeff Bezos said.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I think they would enjoy that, because that's their fruits of their labor, right? I mean, my mother and father had a big part in who I am now.
Did your uncle get in touch with you, Lucian? He's a respected, well-known journalist.
Yeah, he did. He said, in fact, he said, Mata Adambara. He wrote it in Sinhala. I wrote to him in English, and he said, Mata Adambara. That means he's proud.
I'm proud of you. I mean, we all are proud of you. But I mean, I've got 3 minutes more for this discussion. Yasantha, after this, did Jeff Bezos get in touch with you? Are you all in touch now?
Yes. Well, so he did. I reached out to him, and then he said, "How are you doing? What are you doing now?" That kind of thing, right? So I replied to him, and then of course he's very busy, so it's not like I can chit chat. But he replies to my email, so that's good.
But if he called you the brightest student in Princeton, and you helped him to solve this maths problem, right, I'm sure you all should meet. When is that meeting going to take place?
Yeah, that would be a very nice thing to do. Yes, so that's good. I'll let you know if I meet him.
Yeah, then how? I mean, you're like the new. I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't know how do I put it. Should we say newfound fame? I mean, you were always humble. You knew what you were doing, but then thanks to Jeff, you can say not that you went for it. He said it. How do people interact with you more, or do they talk to you more, or they reach out to you more like I did?
People all over the world sort of. It's like a character reference too. Not only just that you're smart, but he said good things about me. So,
and of Sri Lanka, because he put Sri Lanka on the map because of you.
Right, and he remembered me, and then I made up a story about why my name is long, because people used to ask, why is your name so long? So I said, no, it's made out of 3 parts, and these are given to your family by the king. And, like Rajakarunanayake, so why am I not Rajakaruna? So I used to always tell everyone, okay, the reason you have Nayak is because sometime down your family, line, right? If one guy does something good, the king will give you some additional thing like Nayak or something, or, somehow. So then people who have the longest names, they once you get these honors or whatever, then people don't give it up. They just keep it long. So I actually made it up when people ask me, and so he remembered.
Yasantha, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sorry my time is up, but I want to tell you on behalf of our chairman, our network, our viewers, and of behalf of our Sri Lankans, that we are proud of you, and we hope to see you soon in Sri Lanka.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Yeah, I wish to come back, and certainly see you all. Yeah.
And I will sign off by wishing you Ayu Bohowan. May you live long, Yasantha.
Ayu Bohowan.
Thank you.
Pathikada. Bandula Jayasekara Samaga.